Hello, everyone. My name is Travis McIver. I am the emergency coordinator here with Far Northern Regional Center. And one of the things we frequently do is instruct classes on how to prepare for emergencies. These can be various different types of emergencies. Thank you for joining us today. And I hope you get something out of our class. Today's class is going to be preparing for a power outage or planned power shutoff. I have some fellow instructors with me today that I am going to introduce. We'll go ahead and start with William.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you, William. Then we have Danette.
Hi, everybody. I'm Danette.
Thank you, Danette. And then we
Mhm.
have Rebecca.
Hello, everyone, and
Thank
my name
you,
is Rebecca.
Rebecca. so, once again, thank you for joining us today. And I hope you get something out of this instructional video. And we will be posting additional videos as soon as we can. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here.
Hmm.
One second. All right. There we go. Okay, can you guys see that all right?
Yep,
And it'll change slides?
yep.
Okay. So as I said, we're going to be talking about preparing for power outages. All right. Now, power outages happen pretty frequently here in California. So it's important to be prepared and make a good plan for when these occur. What we're going to talk about is what is the difference between a planned power shutoff and a power outage. We're going to talk a little bit about creating a good plan. We'll talk about the use of generators and solar panels. We're going to mention how to store food in the event that the power outage may occur. We're going to talk a little bit about the DDAR program that might not be super familiar to everybody, but is a good option for power outages. We're going to talk about having your emergency equipment in easy to find locations throughout your home. And then the development of a good communication plan. Now, a communication plan also kind of goes with creating uh, any plan for a power outage, but it's a little bit more detailed on communicating amongst friends and families. And then we'll follow it up with any questions. And then if you have any questions, since this is a recording, you can go ahead and email me, and I'll give you that information at the end of the course. So, what is a planned power shutoff? A planned power shutoff might be necessary to protect homes and people. Okay. These are generated by power companies to ensure that things like fires won't start in case, let's say it's really windy or you might have a very bad electrical storm. If the power company thinks that this is a hazard to communities, they're going to shut off the power. And that just prevents anything bad from happening. For instance, a lightning bolt might hit a power line. Okay. If the power's already off, that's really not going to generate as much of a fire hazard as if the power line were to be on. Okay. Another example is, for instance, like the Paradise fires or some of these big giant fires that we've been getting here in California. Okay, we're trying to avoid those from occurring. So the power companies have really just learned that by turning off the power altogether during some of these dangerous storms will likely decrease the chance that a fire occurs. Okay. Now, these power outages are going to pretty much last until these risks are gone. And along with that, the power companies are going to give you the information, most of the time anyway, that they are going to be turning off the power ahead of time. So if they know that a storm is coming in from a weather report or that we're going to get strong winds likely, the power company may just shut off the power ahead of time, and they're going to send you either a text message or an email saying that on this day at this time we're going to be shutting off the power. So it's all planned. So it's not an accident. The power company is doing this for your safety, okay, and to protect your home, and just protecting, the forests and stuff like that in general, okay. Now, a planned power outage is a little bit different. Okay, this occurs from usually like an accident or faulty equipment. Sometimes equipment just gets old, it can get damaged. And when this happens, there's a higher risk that it might start um, a power outage. Okay, because for instance, a transformer, which is connected to a power line, if a transformer goes down, a whole community might lose power for that, and the power company has to get a new transformer up and running in order to get your power back on. Another one is a lot of traffic accidents have been known to take out power lines. For instance, let's say a pickup truck or a car runs into a power pole and knocks down the power pole. This is going to also create a power outage. Okay. Now, Rebecca was telling me that she's experienced several of the smaller power outages in the past, correct?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
And they're pretty
they're
scary.
what pretty scary. They can be very scary,
Yeah.
especially if it's at nighttime and it's hard to find things. It's dark, and now you're fumbling around trying to find things like your keys or your wallet, purse, your phone, maybe. So it's definitely not very convenient, right? But
Mm.
by having a good plan, we can better prepare for when one of these power outages happen, or if we're going to get a planned power shut off altogether. Okay. Now, it's hard to determine how long a power outage or shut off will last. This is why we need to have a good plan ahead of time, because sometimes these power outages can last even a couple of days. All right.
Mm.
Or I know a few years back here in Northern California, we had a very bad snowstorm, and I was actually out of electricity for almost like a whole week. Okay, so we need to plan for these type of events. Has anybody else experienced like a longer power outage before? William Danette, have you ever seen like one that lasts a couple of days?
Yep, mine lasted 4 days when I was living in Anderson when we
Right.
had a snowstorm.
So snowstorm. I wonder if it was the same storm that I was thinking of. Yeah. So see, this is important to plan for because it can be very difficult not living with electricity for an extended period of time.
Also, too, Travis, why on West Street, I think it's been a couple months now, but we also had one that of the transformers blow, and it was at Shasta High School because Shasta High School had the main one that does the West Street, and it actually blew, and there was a little spark and a little bit of fire up by the high school, and then one of down by the street on the freeway. One of
Hmm.
the things, the pool was smoking because it this all of a sudden this popped.
Right. So that's another good
That was
thing
a
to think of.
freak.
Right. Yeah. No, they can be dangerous. So if you do happen to see something like a smoking transformer or a power line that might be looking like it's on fire, or you can even hear the electricity and maybe sparks, I would definitely call the power company and let them know what you're seeing because we want to report that stuff and we definitely don't want to touch any of it, right? We want to stay
Yeah.
far away from that stuff because it's very, very dangerous. Um, so next we're going to talk about creating a plan. So creating a plan is a great for any type of emergency situation, but it also applies for these power shutoff type of events, whether it's a power outage or a planned power shutdown. Okay. So ask yourself, how do I get food if the power shuts down? What about water? Some of us have wells. Okay. If you have a well, that requires electricity for the pumps to work so that the pumps get the water out of the well and into your home. So be aware that if you have a well type of system into your home, that you might not have the ability to get water if the power goes out. So you'll need a backup plan for that. Communication. We're going to talk a little bit more about communicating plans or communication plans towards the end of this slide or the end of this class. Medications, okay? You might want to have a plan to make sure you have your medications available and how to take those medications in case there's a power outage. And what to do if it's
Travis.
dark, if it's nighttime, and how if, in the event that you lose power. I had a question.
Oh, I thought you were on the wrong slide. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, no problem. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to create answers to those questions. Okay, so once you identify the questions that you have and the questions that you need to address with a planned power outage, you're going to create your own solutions to those. For instance, if your question is what do I need to see in the dark if I lose power? Likely this is obviously going to be a flashlight, but you need to put down in your answers, where are you going to store that flashlight? Okay, because if it's dark, you don't want to have to try and dig through a whole bunch of things trying to find your flashlight. You should have a flashlight in a good, easy to find location and make sure it's always there after you're done using it. Okay. Next, in case, we can't always remember everything. So the good thing to do is just to write this plan out on a piece of paper and store that in a safe location. That way, if you need to recall something, you can just grab that paper and look at the question and your answer. For instance, what do we do if we lose power at nighttime? And your answer might be, I store my flashlight in the bathroom cupboard. So now, instead of trying to remember where your flashlight is, you already have it written down on the paper. You can go to the bathroom cupboard and grab your flashlight and you're good to go, right? So that's why we should do this and actually have it written out. Another good reason to write it out is, let's say you have a family, you're not living by yourself, you have a family, and you might be asleep, but the power goes out. Now your kids might be able to use that same thing and go, oh, mom or dad have the flashlight in the bathroom. So they can also use that information so they don't have to dig through everything, right? So it's good to have it written down. Now, another good thing to consider is having a friend help you with creating a good plan. Two heads are better than one, okay? For instance, if I had William or Danette or Rebecca look at my plan, they may think of something that I did not think of, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we just always need to work together as a team and create a good, solid plan. And that just keeps us a lot safer. And it also lets us have a good understanding that our plan is reliable as well. So as we go or continue on through the class, we're actually going to come up with some of the solutions to some of these questions that you may have. So our next slide is going to be talking about generators and solar backups as potential ways to get electricity if your power goes out, okay? So a gas-operated generator may be a good way to provide power to essential items, okay? And if you don't know what a generator looks like, if you see at the bottom of the slide there, it's in the yellow. That is an example of a generator. Most of them look pretty similar, but there's going to be different sizes. Maybe they have different amounts of electricity they can use. So it's also important to know how to use your generator and what your generator can support, okay? But a generator is a good tool for things like refrigerators, um, lights like lamps, okay, maybe a microwave. Um, Remember, a generator needs fuel to work, so it is a good idea to have some extra fuel on hand, stored properly, of course, okay? You don't want to wait for the emergency to happen, so we need to make sure that your generator is um, working. So it's good to test your generator every once in a while, and it's good to have that fuel ahead of time, okay? Some people have solar panels installed on their home. This is another good tool, but just know that if you have solar panels, you might need to have a battery for the solar panels in your home as well. And then that battery can actually create and store the electricity that the solar panels generate. And that way, um, your equipment inside your house can still receive power. Now, what's important to know is both systems are actually kind of expensive, so you may have to save up to get some of these items. Um, you can also buy generators maybe secondhand. Sometimes you'll find them in a yard sale. So if you see one, it's a good idea to maybe pick one up if you don't already have one and you have the finances available. Okay. But we are going to talk about another program later on in this class that can potentially help with receiving some of these items. You can buy some self-generated tools as well, self-power generated tools, meaning there is some items that are actually solar. You could have a solar radio, for instance, that has AM, FM, which is good for listening to emergency broadcasts. But what's that, Rebecca?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, so some of these, you don't even need batteries. Okay, they're just solar. There's even flashlights that if you just leave out in the sun, they charge up throughout the day, and then you can use them at nighttime. Okay. Others have cranks. You can kind of crank them up, and then it'll generate a little bit of electricity to get the flashlight to work. So you don't always have to have batteries, but if you do have flashlights that use batteries, I would just recommend having additional batteries on hand. That way, if the batteries die, you can replace those. So it's important to store food, okay? Especially with as many power outages as we are starting to see here in California. It's good to have food that's not just going to go bad quickly, or food that you don't have to really cook to prepare. All right. So here is some examples of things that you can store in the cupboard that you can just use in the case of an emergency that doesn't have to be cooked. For instance, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That's something that's easy and it's easy to store. Um, Canned tuna fish is a good way that you can get some good protein, and it's pretty healthy. Crackers and chips, you can keep those about anywhere. Fruits and nuts, such as walnuts and cashews, or um, sunflower seeds. Um, these are all good options. Uh,
What
William, do you have it? What's your favorite fruit or nut?
I'll say oranges.
Oranges? Yeah, and oranges last a while, so it's good to always just have like a nice bag of oranges or apples. Danette, do you have any that you like to keep on hand?
Bananas.
Bananas. There you go. Uh,
what
yeah,
about
so
dried fruit?
dried fruit's another
Because
good
I know
one.
you have beef turkey that's because I know that you can keep for a while. But
Yeah, beef
they
jerky.
have that fruit that's kind of like dry, but they have pineapple that's the
Teriyaki.
dry like turkey. Would that
Yeah,
be okay?
yeah, that'd definitely be a good choice to keep on hand. I mean, all that stuff, fruit roll-ups. Um, but yeah, you can get like the dried banana, the banana chips. There's dried apples and apricots, and then you can get your vitamin C's and other vitamins too. Even though you may not have a refrigerator available at the time. So those are other good options. I appreciate it, you guys. Another one, maybe breakfast bars like granola bars, um, those little bags of trail mix,
Mm,
uh, some pastries you can hold for a long time, such as like Pop Tarts. Those might be good options for you. And then you can actually store canned items for a long time too, such as corn or baked beans, peas, chicken noodle soup. Okay. All of those items in the cans you can actually eat without having to cook them. So that's a benefit. But if you did want to cook them, you can simply put them out on a barbecue grill or something like that and heat them up manually rather than using electricity. So that those give you good options as well. Is there any others that we may have missed that you guys want to say?
No.
No. So next, let's go ahead and talk about creating a good communication plan. So we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but having a good communication plan is pretty important during a power outage because things like our cell phones that require electricity, they might, the power might run out, they might die. Okay. So you want to have a way to have somebody come and check up on you. All right. So understand that when the power goes out, you could also lose your computer and your cell phone service. So it might not be easy to reach people like it normally is. So some of the things to consider is if the power goes out, have a family member or a friend check up on you. So for instance, if your best friend, okay, and you need to do this ahead of time. So get with your best friend and go, hey, if you know the power goes out, can you please come over to my house and see if I'm okay? Does that make sense to you guys?
That's a good idea.
Right, because if you don't do that, you don't have that plan,
Support.
you might get stuck in your house and nobody's going to know any different. But by saying that anytime the power goes out, please come over and just make sure I'm okay, that allows somebody to come by and just check up on you. Now there's a good chance you're probably fine, but it's still good to know that somebody is going to be coming over and making sure you're okay, whether it's a friend or a family member, right?
Mm.
Now, another thing that you can do is have a plan to where if somebody does not hear from you in a certain period of time, they can also come over and check up on you. Once again, let's say maybe it's your sister, right? And you're talking to your sister and go, hey, sis, if you don't hear from me in 3 days, can you come by and just make sure I'm okay? Or try and call me or just reach out to me. And if you don't, I might need help. Okay. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be anything extravagant. They can just talk to you real quick and go, hey, okay, Travis is okay, right? Because I talked to him. It's been 3 days. Now, if it's been 3 days and they haven't heard from you, then they know that there's might be something wrong and they really need to check, okay? So you consider that as a way to build a good communication plan. Another one is contacting a neighbor for help. Okay. If you need help, don't be afraid to ask a neighbor. Maybe they can call the police or the fire department if you need that, if it's a medical type of situation. Because remember, once again, if it's been a couple of days, our cell phone might not be working anymore. So it's okay to go and ask for help. All right. And then once you have these good communication plans in place, make sure we practice them. We need to do some good trial runs. That way, if the actual emergency does occur and the power does get shut off, you need to know that that communication plan that has been established is really going to work and work out for you. Do you guys have anything that you'd like to add to that? Have you ever experienced anything like that? Or have you guys created a good communication plan with your family and friends?
Yep, we're all good on that.
Yeah?
I know with William and I and Danette,
Mm.
and with us, we always tell people more you practice, you be better prepared for anything that could happen or could happen.
Mm.
That more
Right.
you practice and
Yes.
practice, you won't get less stressful and you'll be ready to go.
Exactly. And that's really good advice. And, it goes with the old saying, practice makes perfect, right?
Yep.
So the more we practice, I mean, and you can do different things too when you practice to make the event a little bit more challenging. Okay.
Or more fun
Maybe,
at the same
or more
time.
fun. Exactly. Get other family members involved. If you have children or pets and stuff like that, get them all involved. Why not, right? It'll make it a little bit more fun, and you're going to learn a little bit more when you do these type of events. So I appreciate that, you guys.
We skipped slide 7 and 8.
What's that?
We skipped 7 and 8.
Oh, we sure did. So slide 7. This is the DDAR program. So the DDAR program, this is another tool that we can use here in California. So what the DDAR program is this helps individuals with disabilities that may have things like electric wheelchairs or a sleep apnea machine, and those require power. Okay. So, what DDAR does is helps individuals that register get either a generator. So, those generators that we're talking about prior, um, they might be able to supply you with that or a backup battery so that you can use some of those medical devices or you can use that electric wheelchair in case the power goes out because those items are going to be very crucial for some people. Okay. And what's important is if you look at the bottom of this slide, that is the link, okay, to register with the DDAR program. So if you have not already done so and you have an item, for instance, like an electric wheelchair, I highly recommend that you get with the Disability Disaster and Access.org website and register there. It does not cost anything. And these individuals are there to help you in case we do receive one of these power shutoffs. Okay. So they're a very, very good tool to have to reach out to them. I don't know if have any of you guys registered with DDAR, or do you guys need to register with DDAR? Have you done that before?
No.
No, but I'm glad it's out there.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of it?
Not till now.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I've heard
see,
something about it, but not that word.
yeah, yeah. No, it's a good program, and it's not like super advertised. That's why I wanted to include that in this class. So make
Yeah.
sure, once again, if you need to go to the DDAR and register on their website there.
Yeah.
So another thing to consider is having emergency equipment stored. Okay, you want to have these items in easy to find locations. That way, when the power goes out and it's dark, you can just get to those items quickly and you don't have to dig through a bunch of stuff to find them. Okay. So, some of the items you may want to consider having in good spots is a flashlight. That's obviously going to be very, very good for you in case the power goes out at nighttime. Okay. And keep these items always in the same spot. So, don't forget to put them back after you're done using them. A first aid kit. Make sure that they're fully stocked with bandages. And William, how many or how long should it be before you check up on these items and make sure they're good?
Every 6 months or when
Every
the time
six.
changes.
Outstanding. Thank you, William. Yeah, about every 6 months, you want to make sure that you're going through it because they may have things like Tylenol or other types of aspirins and creams that could expire, and you don't want to have expired stuff in your first aid kit when you need it. Things like your house keys, your wallet, and your purse. Those are good to keep always in the same spot. Once again, it'll lower the stress in case there is a power outage and it's hard to find things. Emergency phone numbers. You should actually have these written down on a piece of paper and not just on your cell phone. Because if your cell phone dies because it's running out of batteries, it's not going to help you when you need a phone number to contact somebody. So make sure you have phone numbers for like the local hospital, the police, friends and family. Have all these things already written down. That way, when you need it, it is available even if you don't have your cell phone. And lastly, make sure you keep your homes clean and tidy. If you have a bunch of stuff laying around on the floor, if the power goes out and it's hard to see, just know that these can become hazards. You can trip over these and get hurt, right? So we want to make sure that you have
Mm-hmm.
stuff that you don't have to trip over. Is there any other items that you guys think that people should consider to have in a safe and easy to find location?
Like your keys, wallet,
Your
and your
Oh,
keys and
I
your
would
phone.
wallet?
say make
Those are
sure you,
always in the same location every night, even their
Yep.
medicine, one
Yeah, your
location.
medicine. That's a good one. Rebecca, what were you going to say?
also if
Or is it
also
Danette?
if you have a go bag, make sure your go bag is by the door too. That way
Right.
that one's easy to grab and go with all your stuff and your
Right.
clothes or whatever, or your food.
Yeah, a good to-go bag. That's good to always have where you can find it quickly in case you need to.
Yeah. I didn't
Because
know
you
if that
never know
applied
if
or
you
not.
have if you have no power, you never know how long you might be out of your home till you are able to come back home and have power. So you're able to cook or whatever.
Yep.
Food.
No, these are all good suggestions. And that should conclude this particular class. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to add?
Yes. Does the to-go bag apply to this situation?
A to-go bag definitely applies to this situation. A to-go bag is good for any type of emergency. You never know what you might need, and so having a good go kit ready is very important, because even if you don't necessarily have to leave your house, you might have things in that go bag that is easy to find. For instance, we talked about the first aid kit. That's good to have in a go bag. Maybe blankets or additional food, maybe some medications, those phone numbers. A lot of that stuff should go in your go bag. And we actually have a whole nother class available on the to-go bags alone. So we can talk a little bit about what to put in those, but they're definitely good to have in these type of situations. Now, the important thing is with a to-go bag, in the case of a power shutoff, is don't forget to replace the items that you use, just like that first aid kit, because you want it to be available when you need it. Another thing to consider to go back for in the case of a power outage, if it's going to be several days, and let's say it happened in the wintertime, and there's lots of snow and it's cold outside, and your heater's not working because of electricity is out, you may want to go to a hotel room, right? Well, instead of having to grab a bunch of stuff, you can just grab your go kit and head over to a hotel, right? Or maybe a shelter if you had to go to a shelter. So it's definitely a good tool to have on hand. Another thing to think about too is contacting your power companies, and they might be able to tell you exactly if your house is going to be involved in a planned power shutoff. There is certain websites usually available. For instance, PG&E, on their website, they usually have a map. Okay, you can see, or you can type in your address, and it can present that information. But not all power companies are the same. So if you use, for instance, Power for City of Shasta Lake, you might want to get with that power company and see if your home's going to be affected by a power shutoff.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else, you guys?
No, it went pretty good.
No?
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. I hope you got something out of this class, and I look forward to seeing you guys at the next class.
Okay.
Nice seeing
Bye,
you today.
everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.